Hey, nature lovers! Have you ever been out for a hike and seen a majestic creature with huge antlers and wondered if it was an elk or a deer? Don't worry, you're not alone. Many people often get confused between these two animals because of their similar appearances. In today's video, we're going to help clear up the confusion by answering one simple question. What's the difference between elk and deer? Let's get into it. First, let's talk about size. Male deer, also known as bucks, can vary in height from 2 to 5 feet tall at the shoulder and weigh between 300 and 600 pounds. Meanwhile, male elk, also known as bulls, are significantly larger, standing up to 5 feet tall at the shoulder and weighing anywhere from 600 to 1,100 pounds. So if you come across a deer and an elk standing next to each other, the difference in size will be pretty obvious. But if you're not so lucky to see them together, pay attention to the next physical characteristics we'll mention to figure out which one you're looking at. Next, let's look at the antlers. As you probably already noticed, both male deer and elk have antlers. However, there are some key differences between the two. First, let's talk about the size and shape of the antlers. Generally, elk antlers are larger and more impressive than those of deer. They typically have a wider spread and longer tines, giving them a more majestic appearance. On the other hand, deer antlers tend to be smaller and more compact. Now let's talk about the number of tines on the antlers. This is where things get really interesting. Tines are the individual points on an antler. And here's where you can really tell the difference between deer and elk. Elk antlers have a unique characteristic that sets them apart from other deer species. The number of tines on each side of the antler. Elk usually have 6 or 7 tines on each side, while most other deer species have 4 or 5 tines on each side. Of course, there are always exceptions to this rule, but it's a good general guideline to help you differentiate between these two animals. Moving on to the third point, let's talk about the tail. This might seem like a small detail, but trust us, it's an important one. The tail of a deer is relatively short, typically around 4 to 6 inches long. In contrast, the tail of an elk is much longer, ranging from 8 to 10 inches in length. Additionally, the tail of an elk is also more bushy and resembles that of a horse, while the tail of a deer is thinner and more like a whip. Now let's discuss the fourth key difference between elk and deer, their legs. The legs of elk are longer and more slender compared to those of deer. This is another way to tell them apart, especially if you only have a glimpse of the animal's legs. Finally, let's talk about their habitat. Elk prefer to live in mountainous regions and forests, while deer can be found in a variety of habitats, including grasslands, swamps, and suburban areas. If you're trying to identify an animal you saw during the day, consider the location you saw it in. If it was in a forest or mountainous area, it was most likely an elk. If it was in a more open area, like a grassland or swamp, it was most likely a deer. We hope this video has helped you learn more about elk and deer and how to tell them apart. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Till next time, happy hiking.